This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
An OPEC Plus committee largely stuck to forecasts of a strong demand rebound this year and next ahead of a meeting next week, at which the group is expected to rubber stamp a planned output increase of 400,000 barrels per day, BPD, in December. The Joint Technical Committee, JTC, which met on Thursday, now expects oil demand to grow by 5.7 million barrels of oil per day in 2021, 120,000 barrels of oil per day below OPEC's forecast in its latest monthly report, two OPEC Plus sources said. The JTC left its demand forecast for next year steady at 4.2 million barrels of oil per day, one of the sources said. That source said the revision for 2021 was nothing to worry about, because it was an update of actual data and rounding.
On the coastline near India's southern tip, workers toil on a pier carrying a conveyor belt that cuts a mile into the Indian Ocean where the azure waters are deep enough for ships to berth and unload huge cargoes of coal. The belt will carry millions of tons of coal each year to a giant power plant several kilometers inland that will burn the fuel for at least 30 years to generate power for the more than 70 million people that live in India's Tamil Nadu state. The Udangudi plant is one of nearly 200 coal-fired power stations under construction in Asia, including 95 in China, 28 in India and 23 in Indonesia, according to data from U.S. nonprofit Global Energy Monitor, GEM.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Chinese thermal coal futures saw their biggest weekly fall in more than 5 years on Friday as the powerful state planner said there was more room to adjust coal prices after its recent investigations into producers. Initial results showed coal production costs are significantly lower than current spot coal prices, the National Development and Reform Commission, NDRC, which has been heavily involved in efforts to boost coal supply and ease China's power shortages, said in a statement. The most traded thermal coal futures contract on the Zhengzhou Commodity Exchange hit its lower limit of 10% on Friday before closing down 8.6%. It was down 27.6% for the week, the biggest weekly decline since September 2016.
U.S. crude oil production fell by 185,000 barrels per day in August to 11.14 million barrels of oil per day, down from a revised 11.33 million barrels of oil per day in June, the U.S. Energy Information Administration said in a monthly report. The move came as offshore crude production fell by 312,000 barrels BPD in the month, the report said. Offshore output was hit at the end of August as Hurricane Ida approached and eventually made landfall. At one point, most U.S. Gulf offshore was offline. The three biggest producing states, Texas, New Mexico, and North Dakota, all showed a modest increase in output. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Gold prices fell to their lowest level in more than a week on Friday, weighed down by a stronger dollar after U.S. data showing inflation stayed hot last month put the focus back on the Federal Reserve's policy meeting next week. Spot gold fell 0.9% to $1,782.23 per ounce by 2:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 18:10 GMT. U.S. gold futures for December settled down 1.04% at $1,783.90 per ounce. The consumer spending data fueled worries about aggressive monetary policy action from the Fed to combat a surge in prices, sending yields on the U.S. 10-year note up as high as 1.6190%, and the dollar surging 0.8%.
Soaring costs of materials such as lithium and nickel used to make electric vehicle batteries are starting to feed through into prices of these batteries in China, Benchmark Mineral Intelligence said this week. This is contrary to expectations that prices of the lithium-ion rechargeable batteries used to power electric vehicles, vital for the energy transition, would keep falling over time as economies of scale kicked in. However, the initial cost gains from large-scale battery production have been achieved with the construction of gigafactories, said Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, BMI, Chief Executive Simon Moores.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
U.S. soybean crushings likely declined to 4.907 million short tons, or 163.6 million bushels, in September, according to the average forecast of 9 analysts surveyed by Reuters ahead of a monthly U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, report. Crush estimates ranged from 162.9 million bushels to 165.0 million bushels, with a median of 163.2 million bushels. The USDA is scheduled to release its monthly fats and oils report at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Saving Time, 1900 GMT, on Monday.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.